Santos is a senior here at DHS. She participates in a variety of extracurricular activities, such as DECA, the National Honor Society, the debate team, and the New Christian Fellowship Club. Additionally, she serves as co-vice president of DECA. Samantha is passionate about history and its importance because she thinks that history is the key to both the past and the future. I concur. Samantha plans to attend Bridgewater State University with the goal of becoming a high school history teacher. Please welcome Samantha to the stage as she presents History's Impact on the 21st Century.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be talking about history's place in today's world because I personally love history and I wanted to share the passion that I got for it right here in this building with some of our awesome history teachers like Miss McCarran, Mr. Bedard, and Miss Enochson. I just want to start off with this collage of careers and professions available to history majors. When you look at this, many of you probably see some careers and professions you're considering going into. It's pretty cool how versatile this list is when most people think teaching is the only option. And while there's nothing wrong with being a teacher and is what I want to do, majoring in history gives you so many more opportunities outside the education field, ranging from positions as governmental analysts to attorneys, and as you can obviously tell, many more. Moving on to why history even matters, the most basic but important reasons as to why we study the past are pretty plain and simple: to understand our world today and to prepare ourselves for the world to come. If we had no idea about how we got to where we are, that'd be pretty scary. Luckily for us, though, history not only allows us to know what has happened, but to make educated assumptions as to what will happen. In addition to reasons pretty much anyone can tell you about why history is important, another major one doesn't have to do with the events of history at all. The skills we gain in the process of learning history, right here in our classes at school, have benefits that exceed those classes this high school and can even benefit us beyond college. I know reading documents that are hundreds of years old sounds like a snooze fest, but it makes us better active readers. Along with our debates in class, where we become better critical thinkers and learn how to analyze at a much higher level. If you've ever had to write a DBQ in your history class, you know exactly what I mean. While we may not be fascinated by the random topic in the prompt, there's no doubt that annotating all of those documents made us so much more skilled at inference making and eventually essay writing. History also allows us to understand people of other cultures who, without history, we wouldn't be able to relate to or comprehend fully even. Being able to know how others got to where they are makes us so much more well-rounded and accepting individuals. Next, knowing history and the background of our own cultures gives us a feeling of belonging. Touching on something I already brought up, knowing how we got to where we are bonds us together with those who we share cultures and experiences with. Being able to relate and connect to people we've never met just goes to show the power of knowing history and its events. While not everyone in this room was alive for world-changing events, such as the terrorist attacks of September 11th, just being an American and knowing about the event and its lasting impact automatically bonds you to every single person in this country and creates a sense of unity between all of us. Lastly, history is important because of the international benefits that we get from studying it. This is especially prevalent today in the 21st century because of the globalized world that we now live in. World leaders have to take history into account when meeting with other world leaders. For example, when meeting with North Korea, the way the US goes about things is radically different than with Great Britain. Foreign relations are very serious, and the history we have with other countries plays heavily into matters surrounding trade agreements, alliances, and more. Now, if you know anything about me or my love of history, you definitely knew that this slide was coming, but if you're just looking at this very confused, I love JFK. I'm going to try to keep it together, but this is when and where I found my love of history, so I might get a little excited. But the funny part is that I actually didn't even care about history until my US2 class. I mean, I liked it, it was okay, and I did well, but I didn't really care about it. Not until we learned about JFK's assassination. Not to sound oddly sadistic, but it was so interesting to me. And I'm a big fan of conspiracy theories, so as you can probably guess if you know anything about his assassination, I had no trouble finding documentary after documentary on Netflix, which I watched for a solid week straight after we first learned about it. Since then, I've been to his museum in Boston, and I'm going to Dallas with my dad to see the assassination site and tour the building that Lee Harvey Oswald shot him from. Now, I'm not saying that there's some historical event that's going to change your life, give you an undying passion for history, and make you want to teach it forever, but I can promise you that something has happened since the beginning of time that you can find interesting. You just have to know where to look. Now, as much as I would love to keep talking about the best-looking president the United States has ever had, I probably shouldn't. Getting back on track, one world leader who understood the importance of history was the Prime Minister of England during World War II, Winston Churchill, who once said the famous quote, "Those who failed to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Believe it or not, Winston Churchill wasn't the first person to feel this way, or even say this quote. He actually just rephrased an earlier version of it, originally spoken by Irish political theorist and philosopher Edmund Burke. His quote, which is arguably the most referenced and famous quote about history, reads, "Those who don't know history are destined to repeat it." To bring it back to the 21st century and how history is evolving, technology is without a doubt the biggest contributor to historical change. I guarantee everyone here knows exactly what this is: an iPhone. Even though most of us wouldn't think of Apple as an outlet for historical technology, it absolutely is. Right at our fingertips, our cameras on our phones alone give us the opportunity to capture some of the most important events of history. Events like this. So other than giving us the opportunity to watch Tom Brady and his amazingness, technology enables historians to paint a much more detailed and accurate picture of the past. This can be through new discoveries using updated and current technology, or through using that technology to relook at prior discoveries and learn things we either may have mistaken or have had no way of knowing about until these new technological innovations. A lot of you probably remember learning about this artifact in middle school. Lucy, the early hominid, was discovered almost 50 years ago. Thanks to technology then and now, we have a much more accurate idea of what the earliest humans looked like, which is kind of important to know. Personally, one of my favorite ways that technology has educated people about the world is through cartography. To me, seeing the way other people saw the world is kind of crazy. This map, wrong way. This map is how humans viewed the world around the 2nd century AD, according to the Roman mathematician and geographer Ptolemy. Fast forward about 1,000 years to this map, and we still aren't anywhere close to the world we know today. It isn't until we get to the 14 to 1500s that we start seeing maps that make any sense to most of us. Thankfully, technology allows us to get to this, and even go as far as this, thanks to NASA. Obviously, history is important and matters, and fortunately for us, we can play a role in Earth's story, if we use our time wisely. The teenagers in Parkland, Florida are doing just that. After the traumatic shooting they went through, they still, almost a year later, are using their voices and have just as much drive for their cause as they did right after the tragedy. Now, I'm not a math person, I can't do math to save my life, but let's just assume that we'll all live to be 85 years old, to keep the numbers nice and simple. If you multiply 24 by 365 to figure the amount of hours in 1 year, you get 8,760 hours. Given that we'll live to 85, that comes out to 744,600 hours on this planet. 700,000 hours is more than enough time to leave this world a better place than we found it. But only if we use our time wisely, and we kind of have to. We can't afford not to. Let's be real, this world needs us. That's my key to the world.